Welcome to Out Loud, a comedy podcast where I talk with queer comedians about identity as well as just talk and shop about the comedy community. I'm your host, Corbin Willmorth, and I'm here because, well, what comedian just doesn't have a podcast nowadays? So for this episode of the podcast, I'm talking with a comedian who is a little elusive in certain aspects. Like, this is a name that I've kind of heard floating around the comic community for a while, at the very least in the queer spaces of the comic community here in Spokane, Washington. But whenever I look them up, they don't really have that big of a social media presence. Like, they don't really do a whole lot of, like, self-promotion, so to speak, but yet they get their way around and people talk about them a lot. Today I'm going to be talking with Tomatron.
When I say happy, you say pride. Happy.
Pride.
Happy.
Pride.
I want more. Happy.
Pride.
All right. I have to do that. I feel like you're watching me on your phone. There's like 8 different things happening at once. My name is Tomatron. I do comedy and I'm running audio for this stage. What can I say? I'm indecisive.
The only real clip I could find of Tomatron was them hyping up the Pride Festival that happened in downtown Spokane here back in June. And they were being introduced by Wyatt Colombo. At least I believe that's Wyatt Colombo. I might be wrong there. Outside of comedy, Tomatron's had kind of a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, you know? They've been doing some stagehand stuff. They've been working on some kind of content creation. They're currently working on a video essay for their YouTube channel, which I will be plugging here at some point. And they've been part of Space Queers, which is a local comedy group, which, I don't know if you can tell by the name, is about a bunch of outer space adventuring queer people. Or at the very least, that's what I think the show's about. Every time they have a performance going on, it conflicts with their work schedule, so I've never had the chance to go, but I'd really love to attend a performance. Anyway, let's just get on to this interview. Let's see what Tomatron has to say about themselves. All right, I've hit record. Oh, of course, very unprofessional of me to have a alarm go off. So, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. I've never done something like this before, but it's fascinating. I often imagine a podcast space as like this closed-in like production suite, but we're out here at a park, and I actually I asked for this because
yes.
I often try to double dip my appointments. So if I'm going one place for example, what we're doing here, I typically also have ulterior motives. One of them being this park is like a 25-minute walk from my house, and it's one of my favorite places. This is where I go when I just need to forget the rest of the world exists.
Right.
And that's a privilege in and of itself, because I live in the South Hill, and I'm white, and I don't know. There's a lot less implicit bias that I have going against me.
Absolutely.
Which allows me to enjoy this beautiful park in this neighborhood. But I happen to be here because we're chatting together today. Great to finally meet you.
Great to finally meet you as well, after a series of DMs.
Lovely DMs. And I'm also here to film a portion of a video essay that I'm doing.
All right, absolutely. And at the end of this, I will give you like a moment to like plug whatever you want to plug your YouTube, plug whatever shows you got coming up, just whatever you want to do.
Lovely.
All right, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, you're one of the few people I've contacted about this podcast that, like, I will do a lot of extensive, like, research. Like, I'll do deep dives in their social medias to, like, figure out, like, who they are. The Instagram that I specifically was messaging you through did not have a lot of content. So I was just wondering if you could just give us, like, a taste of who you are.
I can see why Jenny would be a great option for that, because she's very active, and she does comedy anywhere she possibly can, and that's something to admire. I got into comedy maybe a year ago now, and it was mostly because I was working a full-time job that was making me feel depressed and sad and kind of like, oh, is this all my life is? So I reached out to my drag mentor, Neva, and they recommended that I just hit up an open mic. And so I went to the openly mic, and I just seem to vibe. I love the community. I love the environment. I love the people. I wanted to learn everyone's names. I think the biggest thing for me is I wanted to play. Like, I wanted to play in this, like, sandbox that everyone else was in. And another thing that appealed to me about it is I really just have to bring myself. I don't have to lug camera gear everywhere. Right. I don't have to set up an entire production studio. There's probably a microphone there that's ready for me.
Yeah, you just show up, you know?
Exactly. So I got there, I started talking, and then I kept coming back. It's honestly been a privilege to just get to vibe so well with the community, love them as much as they seem to want me around. So I started doing more open mics, and then before I knew it, I was asked to perform at Pride in June, and then soon after that, Garland Pride, and then just recently I performed at my first Space Queer show.
Oh, yeah.
So I haven't put any of that type of stuff up on Instagram yet, because, to be honest, I haven't had social media until I started performing as Tomatron, so I probably need to post more on there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, who's, like, if somebody like you is trying to know more about me, there's not much of me to stalk, as it were.
That kind of is a big thing that I've kind of noticed as, like in, like, the comedy world, is that, like, as much as it is about, like, you know, showing up to places, like, telling your jokes, making people laugh, doing what you can to, like make people be in that good mood, a lot of it is kind of like this, like, hustle grindy culture.
That is something that I have... Where to start with this? I got into comedy because I appreciated the people around me who seemed to be propping me up and inspiring me. And the fact is, like, I have a lot of different interests. Like, I want to make movies, I want to make video essays, do comedy. I'm running sound for the Halloween Bash tonight, hosted by Pansy Productions.
I'm so sad I work. I would love to go there tonight.
It's a great time, and especially around Halloween when all the baddies are coming out. Mm-hmm. It's just all this is to circle back to the point that I've never felt that drive to perform as much as I can at the Spokane Comedy Club, to put myself out there for the entire world to see, the good and the bad. I have had this philosophy, which I think stems from the reason I do comedy. I don't want to be the best in the world. I'm not trying to be the GOAT, as it were.
Right.
I just want to be around people that I love and appreciate. Is there maybe a comedy club performance out there somewhere for me? Maybe. I might try it out at some point. But I'm not pressuring myself to do it now because it does sound like I would be exposing myself to a lot of what you're describing, which is that toxic hustle culture mindset, which I do see sometimes in, like, a few people who occasionally come to the openly mic. You can tell that person apart almost instantly.
Yeah.
When you're in the openly mic setting, because everyone else is there to drink beer and tell jokes, and they're there because it's their 8th open mic performance that past 2 hours.
Right. Like, that is the thing, like, that is one thing I love about Q Lounge's openly mic, is that, like, it really is just meant to be, like, a space for people to, like, go and, like, have a good time. Is really just what it is. And then there is kind of this, like, you know, like, oh, you have the Spokane Comedy Club doing this thing. You got, what is it, the Draft Zone doing this thing. Like, so many different venues, like, trying to, like, promote being this, like, big thing.
Wasn't there a taco place doing openly mic as well?
Yes, they just started doing it. Uno Mas.
Right.
I missed the first 2 weeks they did it, but I did it last night. It, like, you kind of had, like, a mixed bag there of the people that were just there shooting the shit, having a good time, and the people who were kind of, like, doing that, like grind culture, like, trying to make it big, as it were, stuff like that. I'm still kind of, like, in between. Like, I do stand up because, like, I just want to have fun, but at the same time, like, I'm like, I might as well promote myself, because if I do somehow fucking make it, then, like, you know, at least I don't have to work retail anymore. Like, that's that's my point of view on that.
That makes sense. I think I often fall into this trap of, like, doing a lot of shows that I wish I filmed beforehand, because I often go up there and I realize, oh, I have my phone, but I need it to check my notes if the worst should happen, so I can't use it to film. I've been kind of making an effort lately to bring, you know, my tripod and my backpack full of filming gear, not because I'm trying to make life as hard on myself as possible, but because it's the only other thing that I can set up myself and use myself, and not, I guess, pester someone else to film for me, which I don't like doing.
Absolutely.
Even though I'm sure nobody would mind.
Yeah. All right, so are you ready to get into the questions I've had prepared for this?
Wow, that wasn't even the questions. Let's do it.
No, these were just me spitballing.
How you doing? Capitalism?
Yeah. Capitalism tends to be a running theme in these episodes. It ran with Jenny, and it's running here today as well. All right, so, write any good jokes lately?
Well, actually, at the Blue Door performance, I had 5 minutes. The first half I started out with was lamenting that exact question. One of the things I'm sure a lot of comedians hate the first time they say they're a comedian is, can you tell me a joke?
No, I fucking hate that so much. Oh my god.
Because to be perfectly frank with you, although my name is Thomas, like, I don't tell jokes. I as I said in the performance, like, I tell stories about my life, and people seem to laugh about it. And it's cool that through comedy I get to recognize that about myself and develop on it. But I think I've always grown up looking a little funny. Like, I have a coworker who constantly says, "Gosh, you're funny." Not necessarily in a your jokes are well written and they communicate a great story, but in the sense that you're weird.
Yeah.
In that slightly, not quite negative, but not super positive sense either. Like, you're an oddity. And I think the coolest part about getting into comedy is that I get to make a stage out of that and own that experience, as opposed to constantly feeling like whenever I open my mouth, people just, maybe they laugh when I didn't intend for it to be funny, or I know I've certainly grown up with, I grew up with 4 older brothers, so there was often this sense of being protected as the youngest, but also being insulated from a lot of the conflicts that they had to go through.
Right.
So sometimes they would look at me as this youngest who also needs to be kind of taught how things work. So I'd start talking about myself, and they would start interjecting with notes about how I could talk about myself better. And I don't know. I think in some respects, like, I was better for it, but in others, maybe I have notes about their delivery, their time and place for talking about that stuff. Because I remember this one time, we were on our way to an Iron Maiden concert. It was one of the few times in several years that 3 of my 4 brothers were all together at once. And, like, I was excited. We all loved Iron Maiden, and we were excited to finally look them in the face. Metaphorically, we were in the seats way above. But, like, I started talking about this embarrassing story about this crush that I had in high school. And they started interjecting, and so I started feeling embarrassed, and, like, I can't even tell a story to save my life. And it got to this point where, on top of that, we arrived at the venue. I was already feeling a little uncomfortable, and then we all decide we need to pee. So we go to this bathroom, and we're at this very popular venue. I think it was in Tacoma, and there's no urinals there. It's just a trough.
Yes. I think I know exactly the place you're talking about, but keep going.
So everyone else pees like a normal person, and then I walk up and I struggle because I'm surrounded by people. And so like, my brothers finish peeing, and they try to stick around for a little bit, but it takes so long that they just have to leave and make room. So, like, this older guy finishes peeing next to me, another older guy finishes peeing next to me on my right, and then another person finishes peeing on my left. Finally, I decide this is probably not going to work. I cut in line to just get into a stall, and I'm sure it upset some people, but I finally peed, and I got out, and, like, I had a whole breakdown. I think maybe the failing to piss in the trough was the final straw for me. So I didn't really enjoy Iron Maiden, which made me really sad. But all this is a long story to say that tangents are often where I find some of my favorite material and material that resonates most with people. Yeah, I don't tell jokes, I tell stories, and it's sometimes there's a nugget that makes people chuckle.
Yeah, I definitely did chuckle a few times in that story. That's a really good story. I just want to apologize to our audience of, like, I think 20, like, I think I saw the analytics the last episode. I got like 20 people watching or listening, whatever the thing is. We are in the outdoors. There's a breeze because it's fall, you know. So one thing I will ask you is, what does it mean to you to be a queer comic?
I
feel like we did kind of get into this in your introduction a little bit.
Yeah. I think kind of delving deeper into it, I came out as non-binary about, like, also a year ago. And just starting to ask questions about that and delve deeper into that alongside doing comedy and feeling more comfortable being embraced by, I hesitate to call it the comedy community, but
yeah.
like, I think for me being a queer comic means queering, not just in the sense of, like, being a person who is queer, but also practicing queering, which is basically in an academic sense complicating. The world is very complicated, and I think as human beings our desire is to make it a little bit simpler, a little bit more understandable. Sometimes this goal is helpful and it helps people understand their place in the world a bit more, and then other times it can lead to oversimplification, drawing patterns which may end up being harmful in the case of implicit bias, for example. So I think being a queer comic, as a comic, one of the big tenets is telling truth to power, never punching down, that kind of stuff. And then when you add the element of queerness into it, I think it really comes down to being willing to ask questions that complicate life for people, being able to ask questions that invite people to look at how complicated and queer their life really is, even if they may not identify that way. And that's something I was very privileged to learn in like queer theory classes in college. Like, I have a minor in that subject, and one of the big things I took away from it is that queering is something you do, not just something you are.
Okay. So
that would probably be my long-winded and queer answer to that question.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds to me like you definitely made it further in college than I did. That's for sure.
Well, the minor came early. I just got really invested in it, and it was funny because I still identified as a straight guy who, I don't want to say a soft spot for social causes, because like I think a lot of people look at, I guess, social movements and they say to themselves, I identify with that, I support it, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think my experience with my queer studies minor has helped me learn what my place could be as far as not just being non-racist but anti-racist, not just being non-capitalist but anti-capitalist. Just thinking more critically about what could I be doing to make the world a better place, not just associating myself with the right side of history, if you will.
Right. I went to college for journalism, so it was kind of like a similar thing. Like, I was going in because I kind of had this need to, like, tell the stories that were happening that weren't being reported. and finding all the corruption in the world, and then that dream just kind of went downhill a little bit.
What happened?
I for a lot of personal reasons I had to drop out, and then I had to drop out, and then I got a job, I moved into my own place, started paying my own bills, and I just didn't have the time or money to go back to college.
That makes sense, and that's actually kind of related to what I'm trying to make my video essay about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing this video essay, which I've never done before. You're going to ask me to plug my socials later, and I'll be at a loss for what they even are. Basically, I have a YouTube channel. I have stuff unlisted on it, but none of it is quite what I want to be making public yet. And This video essay is going to be the first thing that I want to publish for public consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm trying to do with it's called Video Games and Poverty.
Mm-hmm.
In it, I assess how video games have helped me navigate challenging aspects of my life, including growing up in poverty, growing up sometimes with living with 2 or 3 people at a time in a really small apartment. I also include criticisms of the education system in that, because a lot of the problems people tend to face in school are related to their socioeconomic status. College is this privilege that's awarded to the people who are able to kind of keep up in this rigid coaching-based system where it's not really about education. You can become educated within this system. Fundamentally, it's a system of coaching people in order to get them accepted into college, in order to get them to graduate college, and then to get them higher-paying jobs in whatever field they've chosen. And in some cases that works, but fundamentally there's a problem where a lot of the people who graduate college and enjoy the privileges of that may have never come face to face with the injustices that actually allowed them to get there. Mm-hmm. A close, supportive system of friends and family, what is that?
Right.
A lot of the people who get to college and have that support, they may have faced challenges. They may have worked very hard to attain their education. They may even have gotten themselves to a point where they've graduated and they're able to support themselves while they do things that make the world a better place. But unless they come face to face with the injustices that kind of enabled their success, they're always going to live under this kind of icky assumption that they got to where they are because of how hard they worked.
Right.
As opposed to you happen to be born into a family of people who could afford all this stuff for you.
Yes.
It's you have this support system, and it did help, and it wasn't the end all be all. You did a lot of stuff yourself. You did put in a lot of work to overcome those challenges. But the support system that you had, I don't know who I'm talking to right now, but the support system that you had is very much removed from the greater system that is designed to make losers so that certain people can be winners. Mm-hmm. So what I'm really trying to get at is how video games have helped me to believe in myself and believe that I can attain that level of education. And then ultimately I go into this kind of nihilistic tangent where I'm like, oh yeah, but even I had support even though I was in poverty, and even I had certain support systems that I couldn't have gotten through all this without. I was literally so poor that I had government subsidies to go to college. Some people are just above that poverty level so that they couldn't possibly afford college and possibly couldn't even afford much of anything else beyond the situation that they're in. And that's what makes it so fucking gross, So I didn't expect to get into a whole tangent about the education system in this video essay about video games, but it felt like the truth, if you will.
Yeah. Regardless of what the medium is, it is really great to have an outlet to get these messages out there, regardless of what it is that it even is a part of. Say, for instance, a video essay about video games is always great. It's always a great place to spout your communistic ideals, such as in a podcast. All right. What is the weirdest or funniest thing that's ever happened to you at an event or a show?
Funniest thing that has happened to me, well, I think there's a drag artist called This Bitch, and they are the coolest person, and I always love to see them whenever I'm performing or I'm running audio, because I don't know, there's just this energy about her that just always makes me feel like I am welcome there and I belong there. And I'm struggling to think of one specifically funny thing that's happened to me at the show. Jenny had a great story. But I think the funniest thing is just whenever This Bitch interacts with me. And this one time she asked me if me and my partner were open, and I was like, no, but she just always has something to say that makes me feel like I belong and that I'm welcome there. And whenever she opens her mouth, I laugh and I feel a little safer.
Say, hopefully, maybe I don't know, I can meet her one day. That'd be fun.
Oh, she's everywhere. If you're ever able to access the drag scene, which can be difficult with nightside hours,
right?
She's a great person to hang out with. I find that something I often hear, even if I didn't necessarily get the most laughs, people think I told a great story, and I appreciate that because it's really what I'm trying to do. The jokes follow naturally if I happen to be telling a story that feels like it matters. Like at the Blue Door show, after I got done with all my joking about telling jokes, I did get into this story basically about my partner and her caregiving job, and talking to me about how she basically told me the story about how kids shit their pants all the time and they just don't fucking care.
Right.
And it got me thinking, yeah, at a certain point in your life, shitting your pants is the only life you've ever known.
Yeah.
You grow out of that and then you get used to not shitting your pants. We've all shit our pants. God willing, we may be shitting our pants again if we survive that long.
Push comes to shove.
Yeah. Sometimes both.
Well, shit happens.
But yeah, ultimately, I was just telling that story to show that we're all kind of in this same boat, that we're all going to have needs that we may not always be able to deal with ourselves. We're always going to need help from others. We're always going to need to center interdependence as opposed to independence, which is this very American ideal I have found to lead to a lot of, I guess, isolationism, I think is the term for it. A lot of people focusing more on their ability to be quote-unquote independent, even though they're using resources that just exploit labor to do so. Interdependence is more about recognizing that we all need each other to live the fullest lives we can. We needed others when we were shitting our pants as young people, and then we're probably going to need it again when we're shitting our pants as older people. I go on this whole diatribe. I talk about this story of my partner changing diapers, and then at the end of it I say, and that's why I think we need to protect Social Security at all costs. There's a joke at the end of it, but it's really about how we all need each other.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why I'm not having a more thoughtful response to that, but genuinely, I think that is a really great message. I do, with the right audience, definitely that will be that is hilarious. I find that hilarious. Definitely. And then this kind of gets me into my next question. We kind of talked about this at the top here, but when talking with a lot of other queer comics about the comedy community as a whole, I've gotten a lot of mixed reactions. Some say it's one of the most welcoming and understanding communities and that there is, and others say that it's incredibly toxic, this incredibly toxic culture. Where do you stand on that, and or do you have a different opinion on that altogether? And then my reason for escalating that to that question was because even with that, we must protect Social Security at all costs, that punchline, definitely more queer audiences will you'll get a laugh out of them more than you will out of say some Joe Schmo from a venue in Idaho, right?
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's a good question because it leads to this question about what is the community, what is the queer comedy community. If it's meant to encapsulate the people I've been surrounded by, I would probably disagree and say that I've felt nothing but support from the people I've worked with, and felt nothing but this desire to just be around people and have a good time. I think a lot of the reason that my work tends to land is because I feel like I know my audience and I care about my audience. And to some extent, there is this conceit that if I make a joke criticizing capitalism, if I make a joke criticizing America, I'm probably going to get laughs in the environment that I'm in, if the joke is halfway decent. But that's not necessarily a license for me to just say whatever I want because I know I'll get laughs. It's more of the reason that I feel comfortable enough to speak my truth out there. I think anything can become toxic if it becomes less about the people and more about the product. I happen to be in this position where I've been surrounded with nothing but support, and I've taken this as a chance to tell my truth and just tell my own stories and trust that people are going to listen intently. They're there to enjoy each other's company, and because of that, there's less pressure to, like, I have to tell a joke every 10 seconds or it's a failed comedy performance.
Right.
I'm surrounded by this community that's not going to mind if I do my idiosyncrasies, which is go on tangents, start telling stories that go a little longer than you'd expect, and you get a joke every now and then because that's, the spirit of what I'm doing. But the main reason I'm there is to just share stories that bring people together. And I think that's part of the reason that I would hesitate to do something at the comedy club, is because I'm unapologetic about the way I deliver my comedy. And if it is going to lead to something like what you're describing, this kind of toxic mentality where be funny,
right?
I have no interest in that. And I'm happy to I'm happy with whatever effect my work has on people. I'm happy with wherever that leads me. I guess I'm happy to be surrounded by people who can help me recognize toxicity when I see it. I would be curious to direct this question to you as well, because this question, I'm sure, stems from some of your experience talking to people and getting to know this community from a very different position than I am. So what's your experience been? Because I'm actually curious.
Well, my experience, it's kind of been a mixed bag, I would say. Because the thing is that I can see being in this community, because I've been doing stand-up for about a year. I think my first ever open mic was last October.
Where?
It was at the comedy club, because I was friends with someone who knew Jenny Watson, and I met Jenny through them. I found out that Jenny was a comedian. I was oh, I always grew up watching stand-up specials, all this stuff. Comedy, I didn't say this directly, but comedy was kind of one of my escapes that I had as a kid. Just booting up YouTube, Netflix, whatever, and just watching videos of stand-up comedians. And it was something that I was always interested in, but never really knew how to get into it. And so Jenny was you could just go to this website and sign up to do open mic at Spokane Comedy Club. I'm that's a thing people do? People just say, hey, can I perform? And places will be sure, fuck it. That's how it works. It's yeah, that's almost always how it works. Do you want to give it a shot? And I did. On Wednesday, this last Wednesday, Tuesday, sorry. So day before yesterday, I just got off of a set where I was talking with this other comedian about how I got my start at the comedy club. Literally, it was they were you really jumped in head first, I didn't realize that performing there was jumping in head first. Literally, I was just oh, this is the only one I know about.
I would be I would have a very different idea of comedy if I started at the comedy club. That much I can tell you for sure.
But my view has been I kind of started. Oh, 1 second. I'm just gonna pause real quick. My partner's just texting me.
No worries.
I just need to answer this real quick. All right, everyone, welcome back to everyone's favorite part of the podcast, the ad break. Well, I do have some really great news, and that's that we were able to secure ad revenue because we got over 20 downloads with that last episode, which, again, I want to thank everyone so much for listening to this podcast. It means so much to me that you guys are doing this. But because I get ad revenue through the service that I use to make this podcast, I don't know what the ads are. So because of that, I can't really plug them mid-show. It's going to be some type of auto-generated ad that plays before and after the show. I believe before and after, or is it just before? I don't know. But that said, of course, right as I hit record, a train horn goes off. But that said, if you are looking to support me and you want to support all the guests that I have on the show, so that way I can start paying them an actual, like, monetary shit as opposed to me just buying them snacks from the gas station, please contact me at cjwcomedy@gmail.com and we can work it out. Be sure to follow me on social media as well as follow the show on social media. You can find me at both TikTok and Instagram, CJW_comedy, but on YouTube it's just CJW comedy, CJW space comedy. You can find the show on Instagram under just one word, Out Loud Comedy Podcast. On TikTok, it won't let me change the username because the account is less than 30 days old. So to find our show's page on TikTok, it is out.loud.a. and then QUEERC. So Out Loud a Quirk. I wish I was making this up. This is just what TikTok auto-generated for the username. But then, of course, the YouTube is just like the Instagram. It's Out Loud Queer Comedy. I don't know if I left this in or if I cut it out, but Tomatron specifically wants to plug both their Instagram and their YouTube. So the Instagram is at or it's still at Tomatron, but it's like el.tomatron. And then, unless I'm mistaken, the YouTube is also just Tomatron, spelled the same way. No dots in it, el space Tomatron. By the time I get the next episode of Out Loud Out, I will have a Patreon set up. And how I want to do it is I'm going to make multiple tiers where no matter what tier you're part of, you will get a shout out at the very end of the episode. I'll rattle off all the supporters. Which tier you are is what is when your username will be used first. But then the Patreon, like each tier, you'll get to be able to listen to the show ad free. If I ever do decide to make this podcast not just an audio only thing, but also video as well, I believe not the first tier, but the second tier and above will have access to video as well. And then I'll figure out what I'll do for the final, like, most expensive tier. But again, like, I'm not going to make these tiers super expensive. I'm thinking literally just a range from like $1 to $5 a month. As for any upcoming shows, I don't have any planned. Like, I don't have a planned performance set for the Spokane Comedy Club. I will see if I can make my way out to Tease Lounge on the 28th, but there's no promises there. The next day, Wednesday the 29th, there are 2 mics, I believe. There's the Q Lounge, which is strictly queer comedy, and then there is the open mic at Uno Mas, which I do believe they're doing some type of costume event there. So if I am fortunate enough to have Wednesday off and I can go to that, I don't know, maybe I'll try doing Uno Mas instead of Q, not because I don't want to go to Q, but because I believe Uno Mas is doing the costume thing, like I said. Shit, am I gonna have to make like a Blue Sky or a Twitter just to like keep people informed of like up to dates on like when I'm doing shows or not? And yes, I know I did say Twitter. If Elon Musk is going to dead name his daughter, I'm going to dead name his fucking app. But other than just a general reminder that the best way to support this show is just to, by word of mouth, get it out there, get your friends listening, all that good stuff. That's going to be it for this ad break. Hope you guys all enjoyed this episode, and I hope to hear you guys in the next one.
Now you just have to remember what you were saying.
Right. But So like I kind of have this perspective of like I kind of started in that aspect of the community where people are doing that kind of like hustle grindy, like, oh, I'm doing this joke, I'm telling jokes because I want to make a name for myself, I want to be the next fucking George Carlin, whatever, like I want to be like that level of famous. Like I kind of started in like that whole aspect, and then I learned about openly mic through Jenny. Literally, like, because Jenny was telling me, like, you need to like go to more venues than just the comedy club if you want to make it out there. And I'm like, well, the comedy club's the only venue I know about, so if you could tell me more, that would be great. And then I kind of learned about the queer this queer comedy aspect of the community, and I definitely found it like I'm not going to say it was any more or less welcoming than the one that I went to, but it's definitely a whole different vibe. Like, the vibes of the two sides are just this totally different thing. And it's all about just trying to find, like, if this is really a community you want to be a part of, it's finding your place within those two vibes, so to speak.
Within those two vibes. How's that been, like, trying to strike that balance?
Well, definitely it's been interesting, because, like, for instance, I will write jokes, and I will test them on, like, Group A, which is, like, this hustle grindy culture, and they'll find it fucking hilarious. And then I'll test it on Group B, which is, like, the queer comedy community. I'm like, oh, you guys don't like that. But then I'll test jokes that the queer community found absolutely hilarious, and then the other community just hated, like, didn't respond to it at all, even would like tell me like, hey, that's not a good joke, like after I got off stage.
Have you do you notice that like more people at the comedy club tend to approach you and talk to you about like your jokes afterwards?
Well, they wouldn't approach me till like after the entire performance, because like with specifically the open mic at the comedy club, it's more like it's like kind of like the like you are putting on a show, so like no table talk is allowed, no this, no that. Like, people aren't just, like, there to chat. People are there, like, perform comedy and, like, even, like workshop their sets and, like, give it their all. And so, like, afterwards, people will, like, talk shop, tell you how you can improve, how, like, what you think is definitely not gonna land if you try to, like, keep that in your act, so to speak.
That's very interesting because, like, the not disconnect, the discrepancy that you're talking about between a place like Comedy Club and Q Lounge, I think that gets at like at the heart of what different people think comedy is. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're a person that goes into a place like Q Lounge, you have an audience that you can more or less have a good idea of what presumptions you're going in with, mm-hmm. What you can what kind of jokes you can safely expect to tell that people are just going to like, if not find funny, then at least like agree with the sentiment that you're sharing. Mm-hmm. At Comedy Club, it's a very different story. And again, I haven't performed there. I can't speak with an expert opinion on it, but it sounds like there's a big diversity in socioeconomic status, in where people are coming from, where they're driving in from, and you have people who are doing those open mics trying to set up a name for themselves, and then at the same time, Comedy Club is also the place people are going to see established names, like Gianmarco Ceresi. I think he did the Comedy Club recently.
Adam Conover's doing, I think he's doing it tonight, actually.
Oh, that's fun. It's like, yeah, people look at the Comedy Club and, like, it's this popular place that it's so popular that anybody can get the impression that if they go there, they're going to get a good comedy performance, when in reality, that means something different for everybody depending on what they believe in. Your beliefs aren't everything in comedy. You have to structure your jokes effectively. You have to tell a good story. At least that's something I hold myself to. But ultimately, if you're at the Comedy Club and you tell a story about, if you tell a story that centers your socioeconomic status too much, or if you do something that is critical of capitalism or the fundamental ways America is structured, or racism, specifically anti-racism, you're going to get a lot of people who you lose not necessarily because you told a bad story, but because, like, why are you wasting my time with this? I don't care about this. You know? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense a bit. One thing I will say is that, like, if that is the case, no one really mentions that. Like, the most amount of feedback you'll get is like, hey, like I really like this bit's great. This bit, workshop it a bit. Or something like that. They won't outright tell you, like, hey, this fucking sucks, don't say that. Like, they're not going to say anything like that.
Fair enough. I've found that being surrounded by comedians like Wilma Dargan, mm-hmm. Adam Swenson, people who share, similar sentiments that I do, once our beliefs are not in question, I find that I guess I'm able to open up more about what notes I can take away from my performance. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no question as to whether or not they're critiquing my jokes or whether they're critiquing me as a person for my choices. Mm-hmm. Gosh, what was the question?
When talking with a lot of other queer comics about the comedy community as a whole, I've gotten a lot of mixed reactions. Some,
oh gosh.
Like, some say it's the most welcoming community, and I appreciate these side tangents. I really love side tangents.
I'm happy to move on to the next one at this point if you feel up to it.
If that's what you want to do, then we'll move on.
I just I worry I'll just go in another circle. My short and sweet answer is that I've been lucky enough to surround myself with people who make me feel like comedy is about getting out there and having a good time and not worrying too much about how you're being perceived by people who could make you money. Because, a lot of people at the comedy club are out there to become more recognized. And they're obviously not... They're not necessarily putting pressure on themselves for this or that performance to be their breakout performance or anything. Mm-hmm. But you do find yourself surrounded at the comedy club more with people who may prioritize comedy over things that I wouldn't prioritize comedy over. I wouldn't prioritize comedy over my social life. I wouldn't prioritize comedy over all my other artistic pursuits. And that's helped me not turn comedy into the only thing I'm trying to just get the best at. And so when I talk to a comic who has done 8 different open mics that week, there's, I guess, a different sentiment going into what their notes are about. Mm-hmm. Like, they're trying to optimize, if you will.
Like, their notes are more about, like, talking shop as opposed to, like, telling you, like, hey, like, I think you did a great job out there. Like, hey, like, this is really funny.
I think part of why my stories have tended to work is because they never forget how comedy intersects with life, intersects with socioeconomic status, and so on. And I think that's where some of my best notes have come from. If I'm just getting notes from somebody who is intensely focused on honing the craft of comedy, a lot of what I'm actually trying to do may get lost in what they're trying to say. Mm-hmm. And so that doesn't necessarily make it more toxic. It just doesn't quite align with what I'm trying to do with my comedy. And, there will be nuggets I take away from people who have notes. And I don't want to categorize comedy club people because there's a lot of great folks who are performing at the comedy club. It just, again, goes back to that general vibe you were talking about. Uh-huh. That hustle culture that I've been lucky enough to not put too much stock in.
Okay. All right, so now I'm going to pose a hypothetical to you.
Hypothetical.
If you could get away with one ridiculous crime, no consequences, what would you do?
If I could get away with one ridiculous crime, I would probably steal a DJI stabilizer for my camera.
Bet, honestly, bet. Someone who's also, like, a huge, like, camera nerd, like, I would also steal that.
Oh, well, actually, I take that back. If I could get away with, like, a crime, so basically I got it for free, I would probably just get a better camera and a DJI stabilizer, because I currently have a Panasonic Lumix G7. Uh-huh. It's cheap, it's within my price range, and it's giving me great visuals. But my camera plus the ND filters I'm using and all the gear I have serves the purpose I need it to, but the cheapness of it doesn't hurt the quality, but it means I have more steps to get exactly what I want. Mm-hmm. Like, I have non-variable ND filters, so each time I can't just, like, turn a dial and it's exactly what I need. I have to take a piece off, put another piece on, and that would be my crime. I would steal camera gear.
Your crime would be stealing camera gear. Honestly, love that. As someone who, like, is very much also into, like, video production, and that was a large aspect of, like, my schooling too, was, like, video and photography. Like, I feel that so fucking hard. Cameras are fucking expensive. You have to sell, like, your kidneys just to get, like, a cheap, like, $200 4K camcorder that honestly sucks dog shit.
I think the hardest part is, like, I specifically went to film school in college. Mm-hmm. So I came away with a lot of knowledge about what makes a good image, what makes a good story, and how a great film kind of can put all those things together. And so I have all this knowledge in my mind, and I'm putting it into practice as best that I can, but inevitably I'm going to hit roadblocks because I am just myself. I'm not a production studio, and I don't have a lot of money. So, like, I'm always so critical of what I know something could be if I was surrounded by 5 people with the same mission. Mm-hmm. You know, that's just not my reality. And so I think the big thing in having more gear is I would have more access to things that I don't need to ask someone else for. Mm-hmm. It's not that I don't like borrowing, or that I don't like, you know, having a community of stuff. We just happen to live in a culture where borrowing or asking for help is
frowned upon, would you say?
Yeah, like, not by specific people, but there's just this general feeling like if I need help in America, there's a problem.
Yes.
It's not this community-oriented culture where needing help or using public transportation or anything like that is a symbol that, you know, you're a part of your community and you just love being there. If you need to use the bus here in Spokane, it means you don't have money.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're trying to help the environment or trying to just be around more people. It means you don't have money. So I think asking for help from people, while they may love to lend a helping hand, for me it's always led to this kind of icky feeling of I wish I didn't have to burden this person with my needs. And that's my long-winded answer to what I would do. Steal.
Yeah. I'm just going to jump cut to my last 2 questions here.
I'm happy to also give you just really short answers to everything else.
Okay.
You can give me a little lightning round.
Give you a little lightning round? Okay. Let's assume you go to therapy, which as a comedian is very likely not happening, but let's say it is. If you were to choose any fictional character to be your therapist, who would be and why?
Aragorn.
Valid. That's so fucking valid. How does being queer affect your comedy, and how has your perspective made you stand out compared to non-queer comedians?
Being queer has affected what the purpose of my comedy is. So, like we said at the beginning, my purpose as a queer comedian is to queer, and in queering give people a greater understanding of their place in the world. As far as standing out compared to non-queer comedians, I struggle to answer that because I'm typically not trying to, like, it's not something I'm trying to do, like, to stand out compared to someone who is not queer, especially since a lot of the people I admire, they're not necessarily queer, but they stand out because they're telling their truth and they're telling it effectively. Like Gianmarco Soresi, Josh Johnson, these are inspirations of mine on a larger scale. And from what I remember of their comedy, they both identify as straight men, which is, you know, not typically. But then also Gianmarco's a theater kid, and that's just gay as fuck. So it's like there's a lot of complications in labeling someone as non-queer or implying that they may stand out less because of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that part I'll leave queer and complicated.
Okay. What do you think the role of comedy is in social change? Do you feel it can be used as a tool for activism?
I think we have the answer to that in history. It has historically been used in... I don't necessarily want to say that the comedy was the activism, because I firmly believe that art is never going to be the thing that changes anything. There's a great video essay I watched by Lily Alexander that talked about art in the sense that art is never going to be the thing that changes the world. It's going to be the thing that makes change irresistible. Mm-hmm. And she's pulling from quotes there. I'm not attributing that idea to her. But I think comedy's role, on top of complicating and queering and everything I've talked about, its role is to help people find funny things they used to think of as normal. Mm-hmm. And to inspire people to think, hey, that's actually kind of curious, that's funny, let's dive deeper into that. I think the really cool thing comedy can do is it can make the search for a deeper truth more entertaining. Reading philosophy papers I've always found boring.
Right.
That's as short an answer as I can make it.
Yeah, as short an answer as you can make it. Then this is the final question. You can be as introspective as you want. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave in the world of comedy, and what do you want people to remember you for?
Holy cow. A part of me doesn't think that I'll be remembered specifically as a comedian, because there's so much else I'm trying to do.
Right.
Like, I think the legacy I would want to leave is as a person who struck a balance between art that inspires people and action that changes people.
Yeah.
Like, I try really hard to strike a balance there, even though it's been hard lately because I've been depressed. Mm-hmm. But doing my best to take care of myself, remember that there is a lot that inspires me, and so there's no one thing I feel like I'll ever be able to specialize in. That's a truth that I've been coming around to a lot lately, because I used to just want to do film. Mm-hmm. I used to want to make movies, and I think that changed a little bit for me recently when I realized that there are a lot of barriers, especially in Spokane, that prevent me from being able to do filmmaking full time. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have a car, which prevents me from being able to just go to any production that needs me. And it also prevents me from being able to carry too much around too far. So I'm really forced to focus on what my limitations are and what I can do within those limitations. Mm-hmm. As far as what I want to be remembered for, give me an example answer. What do you want to be remembered for?
Honestly, if I want to be remembered for anything, it would kind of just be that I was very passionate about the projects that I wanted to do.
If I could think of one thing I wanted to be remembered for right now here at this park at 108 on Tuesday, October 23rd, 2025, is that I hope this doesn't fail, but I really hope I can be remembered as someone who didn't compromise too much of themselves to find some amount of financial support in the work they do. Mm-hmm. Someone who didn't, in a very hyperbolic sense, suck Hollywood's dick. I hope through my work and through connections with other people that we're able to make something that's genuinely special and self-sustaining, that allows artists the ability to pay themselves for their work without having to compromise who they are or what they believe in, and not be afraid to speak out for important things that nobody else is. I think there's a lot you have to sacrifice if you want to become well known and liked by a large mass of people in this culture, and that ultimately stems from differing beliefs on how we should deal with our social problems and what deserves to stay, what deserves to die, because that's the decision you make every day as a company, as a person, as whatever. What is worth remembering from all this? What is worth throwing away? And you can't hold on to everything. There are some things you will have to throw away, and that's really sad. But at the end of the day, history tends not to remember the people who didn't compromise.
Yeah, that's just a fantastic statement, honestly. Like, it really does get to, like, just what... Like, I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words right now. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Absolutely. I don't think I would have wanted to do it anywhere else. This park is so pretty, and the leaves are starting to fall, and no one is cleaning them up, which I really appreciate. We got some yellow leaves, we got some red leaves. We got a bunch of leaves here that are going to make a lot of noise if we walk on them.
All right. I definitely, if I was still working for the Park Service, this would be my job, is to clean up all these fucking leaves.
Well, leave some for me to walk around in, if you will.
Okay.
I mean that for anyone who may be hearing this who works for the parks, leave me just a little bit to walk on.
Just leave just like a little patch and just put a sign that says for El Tomatron.
For El Tomatron to walk on. Others,
Fuck off.
No, you can. It's probably like maybe a $5 donation to a social cause of my choice.
A $5 cause to a social cause of my choice, which is El Tomatron's Cash App. Motherfucker, of course the bathroom's locked. Son of a bitch. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Hope you tune into the next one. Please do me a favor and check out the show notes. There you're going to find our guest's social media as well as the stuff of my own that I'm plugging. I would like to give a shout out to my friend Morningstar for being the one to actually make the profile image for this podcast. Do you know of any other queer comedians that I should contact to see if I can get on this podcast? Let me know and I'll see if I can hunt them down. My name is Corbin Willmorth. Thank you for listening, and as a reminder, make sure you don't keep your head on straight.